Happy good morning to all of you. Today we will discuss about the data warehousing and mining, fourth unit. Under the fourth unit, the title of the fourth unit is cluster and outlier analysis. These are the some other important chapters you have under the fourth unit. First topic is a cluster analysis, then types of data, categorizations of major clustering methods. Up to the final chapter is outlier analysis. Okay. In this fourth, what is the important role of this fourth chapter? In this fourth chapter, we'll discuss about the clusters, how to you can convert the data is split to the clusters, or how to you are split the huge data into the clusters, and discuss about the introduction part. Then move to the different types of techniques you have under the clustering techniques. You are moved to the hierarchical methods, density based methods, grid based methods, and model based clustering methods. These are the some other important chapters you have under the fourth unit. Hierarchical methods, partitioning methods and hierarchical methods, density based methods, and grid based method, model based clustering methods. This is a very very important chapter you have under the fourth unit. Now we will move to the one by one all the important introduction part we have discussed. First, we will move to the clustering. What do you mean by clustering? What the use of clustering? How to you can convert the huge database into the cluster database. Everything we are discussing in today's session. First one is clustering is the process of grouping the data into the classes or cluster. Okay. Example, you have a group of data, you have a huge data. In this data is converted to the or split into the group based on the cluster techniques. The objects within a cluster have high similarity in the comparison to one another, but are very dissimilar to object to another clusters. You have a take a simple example. You have a huge database. Take a simple example in your college database. In this college database, you have a three all the data you have in a single database. One is a college hostel details, and another one is a college department details, and another one is a college office details, and another is college transport details. All the details you have under the single database. If you are using the single database, means whenever you can't search the data, means you take a huge time to search and retrieve the data from the database. It's a main drawback of the common database. So overcome this common database to retrieve the data using a clustering techniques. What do you mean by clustering techniques? Mean you have a high similarity data you have converted to the single cluster. In this college details, you have hostel details. Mean the data is retrieved from the common database and create a single cluster using a cluster one is called as a hostel details. Then converted to the another one cluster two is called as a department details. You have a similarity data, you have a next cluster two. Then another one data, you have a transport details. So they are converted to the another one cluster. All the data related to the transport data, you can store the third cluster. This is a simple example for the clustering techniques. Okay, what is the purpose of main advantage of clustering techniques? Means is easy to identify the data or easy to retrieve the data in the particular similar data in a database. I take a simple example. I need a detail about the particular students, whether he is a hostel or day scholar. I mean, you have a two cluster. One cluster is depends to the hostel details, and another cluster you have a day scholar details. Whenever I want to give the details, if the student belongs to the hostel, boys hostel, mean just to go to retrieve the data from the hostel details. Is a similar data you have retrieving the one by one all the data from the database. Then clustering has its root in many areas, including data mining, statistics, biological, and machine learning. These are the lot of different applications or different industries they are using a clustering techniques. Particularly, these are the some of the important areas are used with the clustering techniques. One is the data mining, statistics, biological, and machine learning. These are the some of the important areas used for the clustering techniques. Here, see the process of grouping set of physical or abstract object into the classes of similar objects is called clustering. You can store the similar object in a in a cluster. Okay. A cluster is a collection of data objects that are similar to one another within a same cluster. You have a huge database. In this huge database, you have all the data you can store in a single database. It's a very difficult to retrieve the data using a common techniques. But if you are using a clustering technique, same here we have mentioned as a similar or to one another within a same cluster. Similar data you can store in a single cluster or more than one cluster. If the related data, you can create a three clusters. Cluster one is related to the one particular area, store all the data in the cluster. Cluster two, you have a similar data, you have another one cluster, store the all the data in a single another one cluster. Cluster three is a similar data, you can store the similar data. Take another one example, I will explain about the clustering techniques and clustering analysis. Take a IPL cricket team. All the IPL cricket team players details, you have a single database, means very difficult to filtering the data. Otherwise, based on the data, you can analyze and finally you can create a report is very difficult. Take a huge time to analyze the report, analyze the data. Suppose you have a based on the team, say take a simple as a Rajasthan Royal, you have a single cluster. In this cluster, you have only details about the cluster Rajasthan Royals players with the details and the cluster one. Cluster two is a Chennai Super Kings. When Chennai Super Kings players details with the data, everything you have a cluster two. Cluster three is a Mumbai Indians. Mean all the data related to the Mumbai Indians team players, you have a data under the cluster three. Whenever I need the details about the particular person, take a simple example. Rohit Sharma's details I needed means just move to the cluster three. Is a Mumbai Indians. He belongs to Mumbai Indians team. Go to retrieve the data from the Mumbai Indians database is called as a similar data, you can store and easy to retrieve the data from the database. This process of grouping set of physical or abstract objects into the class, a similar object is called clustering. Cluster is a collection of data objects that are similar to one another within a same clusters. In business, clustering can help marketer discover distinct group in the customer base characteristics, customer groups based on the purchasing patterns. Another one simple example, the purchase details. Based on the purchase, we can create a cluster. Suppose particular people, they are purchase only the LED monitor. Okay, in HP company means they have a individual cluster, the details stored in the particular cluster one. The another group of people, they are purchase the 35-inch monitor with the Samsung company, means they have another one cluster, store all the details. Whenever I need the details, otherwise I am going to create a report using a data mining concept, go to retrieve the data from the cluster particular database and create a report using these techniques, cluster analysis. Okay. Clustering is also called the data segmentations in some application, because clustering partition large data set into the group according to their similarity. Clustering can also be used outlier detections, where outlier application of outlier detection include the detection of credit card fraud and monitoring criminal activities, electronic commerce. Okay, this cluster analysis is also possible to identify the hackers. Is also possible to identify the hackers using a clustering techniques. Suppose you have in a single database, you have a huge data in a single database, means it's a very difficult to identify the data, who is access the information from the database and everything. Suppose you are using a clustering one, clustering two, clustering three, means easy to identify the who is going to access the information or whom are going to access the information. Everything easy to identify and analyze the person. He is a hacker, otherwise he is a normal person. Okay. Types of cluster analysis. Here you have a interval scaled variable. Is a different types of data in the cluster analysis. First one is the interval scaled variable. If the discrete distance measures that are commonly used for the computing dissimilarity of object described by such a variable. This measure include you have using measure the interval scaled variable. You are using different types of equations is there. One is Euclidean techniques, then another Manhattan techniques and Minkowski distance. Okay, mainly we have using the two important equations are used under the interval scaled variables. First one is the Euclidean distance, which is defined as d of I comma j. I is the distance of I to j. Here you have square root of I position with j positions squared is a Euclidean distance calculation algorithm. Next one is a Manhattan is a equation is a d of I comma j. You can add the d of I position with the j position. It's called as a, sometimes we are mentioning as a I is a x coordinate position, and y is a j is a y coordinate position. You can add the x and y, then finally create a distance using a Manhattan techniques. Okay, take a simple example. Here you have using a two values one is 3 comma 5. Here you have mentioned interval scaled variable. You are using a two techniques, Euclidean distance techniques. Already I explained about within the equations. Euclidean distance algorithm, we are using a x squared plus y squared, otherwise x I comma j with the square root. Okay, here you have a distance is a 2, here you have a distance is 3, so 2 squared plus 3 squared. Based on the equations, you have a 2 squared plus 3 squared. You can add the square root of 2 squared, 14. Okay, we are calculated 2 squared 4, then 3 squared 9, 9 plus 4 13, 13 square root is value is 3.61. Here you have using a Manhattan distance equation based, you can derive the sum. 2 is the value of here, 3 is the value here itself, then add the two value, finally create a Manhattan distance value. Okay, binary values, this is another one important technique using a binary data cluster analysis. Binary variables has only two states, whether you have considered as a zeros and ones. Zero means the variable is absent, one means the variable is present. You can calculate the variable present or absent. Treating binary variable if they are interval scaled can lead misleading clustering results. Therefore, methods specific to binary data are necessary for computing dissimilarities. Okay, the next one is a categorical variable. The categorical variable is called as a categorical variable, otherwise category variable. The category variable is the generalizations of binary variable is that can take one or more than two states. For example, map color is category variable that may have say 5 states: red, yellow, green, pink, and blue. All the values you have added, then positions based on the position. This is the equation for the categorical value. Then ordinal value. Ordinal value you are not considered as the any conditions, is based on the ordinal value. Here you have calculate a discrete ordinal variable resembles a categorical variable except that the m state of the ordinal value are ordered into meaningful sequence. For example, professional ranks are often enumerated in sequential order, such as assistant professor is a grade 1, associate professor is the next grade, and full professor is a grade higher grade. Means you can using ordinal variable you can consider were divided the clusters. Then here continues the ordinal variables. Here another one, simple examples. You have ordinal variables. You have the relative rank in particular. Gold, silver, bronze. Bronze. Okay, gold you have a higher priority. The silver next, and final one is the bronze. Means you have store the data. Otherwise, you have filter and store the details about the cluster 1. You have a details about the gold details. Then silver 2, cluster 2 you have a silver athlete, silver winner details. Then third one is the bronze details you have under the cluster 3. Then centric based techniques. Here another one, partitioning methods. In partitioning methods you have a centric based techniques. This method have k-mean algorithm for partitioning, where each cluster center represented by mean value of object in the cluster, k number of clusters, D is a dataset containing the object. K number of clusters. You can create more than one clusters based on your data. Suppose you have a huge data, you have a different attributes, man, you can create a more than 5 clusters possible within objects. Then output finally you get the cluster details. Okay, these are important chapters, important introduction part about the 4th unit. What are the topics we are discussed under the today session? Introduction part about the cluster, what the use of clusters and what the main advantages of clusters. Then discuss about the different types of cluster analysis. Here you have mentioned, I explained about the interval scaled variable. Then interval scaled variable you have a create a interval between one position to another position, everything there analysis. Then move to the interval scaled variable. You have a two important equations are discussed. One is Euclidean distance algorithm. Under the Euclidean distance algorithm, you have distance of I comma j, and another is a Manhattan algorithm. If you have a distance of I comma j, are discussed. And then finally take a simple example. I explained about the Manhattan, how to you can use the add the or calculate the value under the Euclidean distance algorithm and Manhattan distance algorithm. Thank you. Next chapter we'll discuss the next presentation. Thank you.